Hello from the Presencing Institute team. Welcome to this recording of our Clubhouse room of Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. The Presencing Institute has recently created the Theory U Club on Clubhouse. This was our second Clubhouse-based conversation on the topic of inclusivity versus exclusivity, the digital divide and missing voices. How can we be inclusive on Clubhouse and more in general on social media? Where does inclusivity end and exclusivity begin? For the sake of inclusivity, we decided to audio record the event for reshare with those who do not have an iOS device and therefore could not access the Clubhouse platform. We hope you enjoy the conversation and we warmly invite you to share your comments under this video.
Okay, hello everyone. We're very glad to see you, and we start our session. Today we spent 1 hour together, and this is our team, Presencing Institute, and with us today, Rachel. This is a co-team PI from Rome, Italy. Hi, Rachel.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us.
And Michelle from South Africa, and Michelle, the host of Gaia session of the Gaia language session in French language. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks, Anastasia.
And Stefan, this is the core team of our institute. Hi, Stefan.
Hello.
Hi, Andy. And today we spent 1 hour together, and please note that today our session is recorded, and if you don't want that your voices to be recorded, please don't speak today. Thank you so much. And today we will speak about words. Now we have oh, sorry, I don't say my name. My name is Anastasia, and I'm from Moscow, from Russia, and I'm host of Russian Gaia and host PI in Russia. Okay, we will speak today about two worlds. Now we live in one side, we live in offline world, and another side we live online world. And what we can see now that we have different social media and different digital divide that could include or exclude. Sorry, and sorry for my English. Sometimes I will make mistakes because English is not my first language. I speak only Russian. So sorry if you don't understand something. I will try. Okay, and today we will speak about inclusive and exclusive this world. And we can see Antoinette, this is our host too, and Antoinette, this is host of Big Gaia, Global Gaia. Hi, Antoinette. Okay, I hope Antoinette will be very... Okay, hi.
Yeah. Hi, Anastasia. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Okay, and why we decided to speak about this topic? When we decided to do in Clubhouse, our house, Theory U house, we understand that some of us don't have iPhones. And we began to speak about it, how in this world we can use such a divide, such social media, but if you only have one of the divide, digital divide. And my first question for Rachel, because the first our dialogue was with Rachel, and in that moment we understand that we are all about inclusivity, but how we can do something in this social media if we can't invite everybody. Rachel, can you speak with us? And please, what do you feel now? How you use Clubhouse? And what do you think about this question?
Thank you, Anastasia. Hello, everyone. This is Rachel from Rome, Italy. So I feel that the topic of exclusion is very subjective, because there is exclusivity in the abstract, and then there's the exclusivity when you live it in a felt sense, and this can happen at so many levels. So with regards to Clubhouse, my personal experience is I do not have an iPhone, and so in fact I only came to know about Clubhouse because I already had a potential invitation from someone who was in there and who said, you must be here because this is a place where community can be grown, so you need to be here. And then the next thing he asked me is, do you have an iPhone? And my answer was no. So for a moment I had not yet aspired to be in Clubhouse, so I didn't taste the disappointment of being shut out from it. And then I realized that I could use my iPad for that, so that was a way in for me. And I must say, so I had mixed feelings about being in there once I was there, because there was something about the exclusivity which was exciting. So I did not experience not being able to get in and having to wait for an invitation, but I can imagine what it means to be waiting to get invited in. And then I experienced the excitement of being able to invite someone else in, and only having, at the time when I came in, I don't know why I only had one invite that I could extend and not three like some of my friends seem to have. And so I had to think very carefully about who I would be bringing in, and there was something that felt special about that. And I will be honest, there was something, aspirational about this, and it felt like it was building up a space of a certain kind of trust. And then my subsequent experience inside the space has so far been very positive, because I feel like it's a community of people who connect in a way that's light but meaningful. So that's my experience of Clubhouse, and that's how I experienced the just this getting in and crossing that boundary. And so I also now feel very much for those who feel like they cannot get in, and so I am trying to find ways to bridge that. And this is also one of the reasons why we're recording today, because we would like to be able to take this conversation into spaces where it can't reach just now. Thank you. This is Rachel, and I'm finished speaking.
Thank you, Rachel, so much for your opinion, and to be having a dialogue about inclusivity and exclusivity on social media. Please feel free, raise your hand and share your story and share your opinion with us. What do you think? What do you feel about this situation? And I know that, Stefan, you had the same situation, because when we started discuss with you that we want to do something in Clubhouse, you had the same problem, the same issue, that you don't have iPhone and you use iPad, if I understand right, if I remember right. What do you think now about this, Stefan?
I don't know. I don't really have, it's just, I'm used to joining so many platforms in different spaces, and it takes a while to get in, or it's not relevant to me. But I have to say that I feel like it wasn't that big of a barrier. I still have an iPad, so I consider myself fairly technologically privileged. And it was just kind of like I had to do a hop, skip, and a jump to get into the space. What comes up for me is I don't know, kind of what Rachel was saying, I'm not having the experience of not being able to get in. And I know that there's a lot of energy around that, so I'm trying to sense and understand that. But I don't know. I guess I could pass it back to you, Anastasia.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. And this is opinion, one more opinion we have, and with us, Antoinette. Antoinette, yes. What do you think? What do you feel?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, just so there's the kind of like iPad, iPhone discussion, which is, interesting. Personally, I have an Android. I had no interest in getting on Clubhouse, but then I was like, oh, community's there. Yeah. So I borrowed an iPad, and because my iPad from many, many years ago was broken, and I used the iPad for Clubhouse, and here we are. But that said, I've also been feeling into other communities who, have been kind of thinking about it, and into the Presencing Institute community as well. And, the thing that comes up is, well, if you feel there's the device thing, of having the device, and then there's also the invitation thing. And I think from the device perspective, there was like, well, you need a device to be able to access most platforms anyway, and that's already a thing. So as Rachel was saying, is it just because now it's impacting you that you feel it, and that you want to say something about it? And, there are many in our community that, when we think about how we are including everyone, we have to think about a lot of the different aspects of how are they even going to be able to access the internet, and, just because we make our programs quote unquote free, does that still mean that everyone's going to have access? So there's that question around how we can be inclusive in that way. And then, for anything, do we really feel it until we feel it? And so there's, a question around that of exclusion and inclusion. Like, where do I feel that I've been included, or I'm part of that? Because I didn't feel excluded by the Clubhouse thing. I felt like, okay, and maybe it was because I didn't really want to get into it until the time that I was, already experiencing, I know people on there. But, when it comes to the invitation, I think there's also this question of what does exclusion and like, what does excluding some people mean for a group to feel that they're safe and that there's belonging, and that they are included because others are not, so those are things that have been kind of rolling around in my head, since we started this conversation and as we go. So I'm Antoinette, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Antoinette. And today we are really open up for people to speak from your direct experience and feelings. So feel free to raise your hands and share your experience about this topic. And please remind that today we are recording our session, and not to speak if you don't want that your voice is to be recorded. Thanks. And in our stage, we have Michelle, our co-host of this session. Michelle, you're from South of Africa. What do you think about our topic? What is your opinion, your feelings about it?
Thanks, Anastasia. I think the topic for me was, it felt like it was a metaphor for the kind of broader conversation around inclusivity versus exclusivity, and just the digital divide. In South Africa, we have a large segment of our population that don't even have access to data, to Wi-Fi, to tools, to be able to have these types of conversations, which could be life-changing. So, I'm excited about listening to other voices and other experiences, because it's really made me reflect on the privilege that I have to be able to tap into and listen to conversations and reflect on, well, if I have access, what is my role and contribution in the inclusivity versus exclusivity conversation to close the digital divide? So for me, certainly, the experience of Clubhouse has awakened me to realize that whatever it is that I am exposed to, whatever it is that I'm learning, to take it back into communities that don't have access. So it's just been a reminder for me that I'm privileged, that in the exclusivity, there is both a privilege, but it also comes with a responsibility. Yeah, and that's me. I'm done speaking. Thanks, Anastasia.
Thank you, Michelle. So now we know what our moderators think about this topic, and I hope that now you understand why we start to speak about it. Very important topic for us. Okay, now I see Andy in our stage. Andy, please, where are you from? And can you share with us your story or your opinion about our topic, our questions, our issues today?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is Andy. I'm in Chicago in the United States. I've been on Clubhouse for about 4 months and have spent the last several years in all kinds of virtual space holding experiments. So let's see. Can you hear me okay? I'm getting a poor connection.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So that sort of speaks to the subject at hand in the context of access. And I'm also extremely privileged. I happen to have an iPhone and a very strong internet connection. I live in a big city in America, all these things. So I think, there's so many layers of this. I'll just pick a couple, which have already been mentioned. One is just the way that they developed it on iPhone first. That's fairly common in the developer world. There's just a lot of reasons why a developer would choose to develop. And it's important for us all to remember this is still a beta platform. I've heard this week that they've started to put the Android devices out for testing. So I think in a couple of months, we're going to see a massive influx of Android users. And I think that at least that part of the exclusivity will disappear. And then there's the invite only portion of it. And at one point, I don't know, I immediately sort of resisted that idea. It's a little bit of a VIP, velvet rope kind of thing. Although there is actually at a deeper level, I think it was Rachel was speaking to a little bit, that there's some kind of appeal to that as well. But I think there's actually something even more important going on, which is building a visible trust network. Initially when they built this app, they didn't make it visible to say who invited who. But at some point they realized, initially that was just a way to really growth hack, right? To just build a network quickly and make it kind of alluring because it's exclusive. But then they realized that's actually a really powerful thing when you can have a bit of a digital social contract where you actually know your reputation in a way is actually connected on your profile to the person who invited you. And that I've heard actually some people speak to that where that's a really important aspect of this network because it is semi-anonymous yes, we're connecting with voice, which I think is really important. And also, we could put things on our profile, we could use different photos. So I think that's a really important piece of that. So I don't know, in the future, they talk about opening it up, but in a way that would actually potentially even deteriorate the trust, this sort of social trust that they're building. So I think, as was spoken to, I think Michelle said, the bigger digital divide issue is still very real. It's just who has access not only to these particular platforms of technology, but really internet access at all. I'd say that's an even bigger issue. One of the things I think is fascinating about this being voice only, clearly it was built in America and it's English speaking primarily, but for a few months now, there are languages of all kinds on this platform already, and that's really encouraging to me in the context of inclusivity, and everybody has the power to lead a room. You don't need to wait for a translator or something like that. And then the last piece I think Antoinette was getting to, leaning on Priya Parker's work, The Art of the Gathering. There's something about creating a container that's inclusive that actually requires some degree of exclusivity to build a really intentional and purposeful container for people to convene and for that community to be respected. So I think there's a natural tension between those. So I'm Andy and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, so much. And for me here, two important things about social trust, how we can build, how we can support social trust, and about thank you for create a container for inclusive. And before we continue, I want to speak to her, Rachel. and Rachel do a landing for us for our session. Rachel?
Thank you, Anastasia. I would like to invite everyone to just take a moment to land in the space so that we can connect more deeply to what might emerge from the heart connection. So just take a few moments to check yourself in totally and tune into your breath. You might want to lower your gaze, even though we're not on video. Lowering your gaze will bring your attention more to the inside. Notice your energy in this moment. How are you feeling? Notice your breath and the inner vibration. Are you agitated? Are you calm? Is your skin moist? Notice the parts of your body that might be crying out for attention in this busy day, morning or evening, and send the breath energy to those body parts that might be aching or manifesting. Survey your inner landscape. What's present for you right now as you listen? Be present to what's coming up with authenticity, without judgment. And now I invite you to send breath energy to your heart and tap into your heart. If your heart had a voice right now, what would it say in this moment? How would your heart speak up about what it means for you deep down to feel excluded or included in a community? Thank you. And with that, I would love to pass it over to Helen and invite you, Helen, to share with us today what thoughts or questions or reflections or stories you'd like to bring into the space around what it means to be included or excluded. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you for asking me to speak. I came on, one, because I love Theory U, so I came tonight because of that. But also the topic intrigued me. I came in and just heard you all talking about Clubhouse. I mean, I came to Clubhouse after a particular friend was hassling me, saying you should come on, people need to hear your voice, how much you've hated going on social media, because of many fears and phobias you have about it. And that's how I came to be here. So that's like my first Clubhouse meetings. I wanted to see how it worked. But the topic intrigued me because there are a lot of missing voices on social media, and we give social media such resonance as if the voices we hear are reflective, particularly of different communities, whether it be African, Caribbean communities in UK or America or whatever, and so on, or the white community. We there is this thing that these are the voices, and voices aren't missing, when in fact they are hugely missing, not just because of access to technology, but because also there are cultural reasons as well as to do with your gender. So I'm a woman, so there's fears around that, and the repercussions as well, which have also slightly built about if you speak up or go against the community's point of view, which you assume is the point of view of everybody, because that's what you see on Twitter or LinkedIn and so on and so forth, and then what would happen if you go against it. So that's how the question resonated with me, is the fact that, how do we then get those missing voices to be part of the conversation, particularly those who are actually on these platforms but don't actually speak up because there is a fear out there. And and then going back to what Michelle said, is the digital divide. Having just come out of a lockdown as an educator as well, and seeing that the school I have, a lot of work I work with, 30% of the children there had no access to any technology, so had to do their work analogically, which meant teachers going to the house, dropping off worksheets, etc. Given that the UK has a large GDP, it's quite a wealthy country, should that still be the case? Should children be in that position where they can't access basic classroom lessons like during the lockdown?
Thank you very so much for your opinion, and for me very resonate how many voices we lost in our social media, because I'm from Russia, and for example in our country few of popular social media is blocked, like LinkedIn, and we can't use Twitter, and this is we have a lot of problems, and this is not comfortable, and we feel exclusive ourselves in our country. We use a lot of things which can use another people from different countries, and this is another part, another side of this problem, how we can inclusive all people, all voices, when we have the special forms, special narratives in the different states. And this is one of the different problem that we have now in our digital world. Okay, and next one, Sarah, please, could you share with us your opinion?
Hi everyone. Good morning.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Philippines, and I was just listening, and grateful to be invited to share. When I was invited on Clubhouse, I actually inquired what it was because someone was posting about it, and then someone shared that it's a space where people, mostly change makers, together, and so I was interested. And then I was starting to share invitations to people, and I realized my privilege that I have an iPhone, and I realized too, like, maybe I should explain that I have an iPhone because I was volunteering for a typhoon recovery effort before, and my old Android phone got flooded, and someone donated an iPhone, and it's a phone I wouldn't buy, I guess, because of the pricing, but just realizing that privilege was there was a part of me that needed to be more conscious about sending invitations, and I'm inspired by this discussion because my work is really working with engaging different stakeholders on restoring their landscapes and ecosystems, and we have a lot of disaster affected communities here and climate vulnerable, and so we really want to do the last mile and meet the last mile, but as much as possible. But the challenge here, especially with the COVID pandemic, it's so hard to do consultation workshops. So recently we've been doing a consultation workshop on developing an ecosystem restoration lab, which we're also collaborating with Common Land. And it's and in the past as well, we've been working with. It's more face-to-face, before this collaboration, we would work with Indigenous leaders and the governments and ways that they could design their pathways together. But it's so hard to do it online. And so what we did is we did engage with different change makers online for the consultation, but made sure they were on-site partners who did offline consultations. So I'm not sure, it's not so directly related to Clubhouse, I guess, but just listening to the last mile and also working with the edges. So as a permaculture designer, we look at the abundance when you work with the edges, where there's like the meeting of different habitats together, and there's so much to learn from that space. So in our design process is looking at the edge between the most vulnerable into the most influential, and making sure each of those edges are represented. And my curiosity right now is more of like, because I'm currently like weaving dialogues between North and South on decolonizing regeneration, and so it's my curiosity is more of like the divide between language and language, not just the spoken language or written language, but looking at the different forms of expressions, and how for me, because I'm also an artist, so where we work with art and ritual as a way of bringing people together without transcending language, and at the same time it's also about validation, because we're not so much from the way we express our opinions, our voices, our knowledge and wisdom, at least from the global south or mostly formerly colonized nations, where it's not often written or spoken, so it's mostly embodied and just done, as if doing by not doing. It's like in the Chinese tradition of Wu Wei, where you do and not do at the same time, and there's a lot of tacit knowing where it's not documented, and I know a lot of people who are doing good work, but they're not on LinkedIn, and I'm just like, wow, I wish their stories are here. And so there's so much power in, and privilege, even for me, because I'm not, maybe sometimes I'm in a room where I'm maybe only one or two from my part of the world or from the global south, and it's, I also feel the privilege, and I'm curious about bridging these, working with the edges and working beyond what is spoken or written and other forms of language that bridges and transcends the dominant language. So that's me and Sarah, and I'm done sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for your deep connection with us and for your voice here. And just find that we are recording this session, and please, if not speak, if you don't want your voice to be recorded. And now I want to do one step back, and Antoinette.
Cool. I was just interested in both what Helen and Sarah said, so I feel like it's a natural progression of the conversation as well. And I'm, looking forward to hearing from others too. But I just think this piece around what Sarah you just said about the edges, and Helen what you said about cultural inclusivity. And I think how we do that and how we incorporate that into our work across, in the Presencing Institute, we talk about acupuncture points, but across these various areas where we want to see societal transformation, and where we see disruption. How do we bring the voices who are experiencing, the people who are experiencing those, things, those issues, how do we bring their voices to the center of the solutions? And I think that's, there are a lot of the tools and practices that we, use to try and get there. But I think, even what you just said, Helen, about, being able to come in and speak and are they getting these tools by being here on this platform or on the internet or on, virtual programs? I think that's where then we need another way of engaging, and Sarah, what you just said, these tacit ways of knowing and doing and not doing, so I think it's both, like pulling in knowledge and people and voices from the edges, bringing them into the center, and then kind of cycling that back, so it becomes a kind of feedback loop, or a lemniscate, where there's energy and ideas flowing, and I just wanted to really thank you both for bringing that in, because. And I think also, there's more work to be done in how we hold our programs and how we hold conversations, so that people can feel more included, and can feel that no matter where the impetus for starting a conversation came from, that there's a wholeness to the inclusion piece. So still thinking about it, but I'm Antoinette, I'm complete.
Thank you, Antoinette, and I want to just say that to Daniel, that we see your hand, but we can't edit you in the stage. Please check something with your connection. Maybe you can...
I think I can speak. Can you hear me now?
Oh, sorry, you can, but I... okay, you will be next. Okay, if we just speak with you, please. Yes, share where you're from and share your experience, please.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I'm really happy to speak about such topic. I'm from Yekaterinburg, Russia, and yeah, I thought about my personal experience, and I think that the main part where I feel excluded now is that I feel excluded from. I feel like my voice excluded from taking part in some political and yeah, in some political topics that I have an access to the internet, but I don't feel safe to express my opinion there, and I don't feel safe to tell about such things, and this is the first thing, and then the next one is that somehow related to the container, that when how other education programs constructed. And I think that it's really important to me to feel the container there, to feel the rules of container, and by these rules, by this some closed container, I feel myself safe. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And yes, this is voices from Russia, and I feel what about you speak. And yes, it's very important question now for us, how we can be included in different social part and political part in our life. And thank you for these issues, for your thoughts. And I want to hear the next voice in our session. This is Ivona, if I write understand your name. Anna.
Thank you, Anastasia. I'm Ivona. I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland. Thank you for organizing it. It's indeed a very important topic. I need to say I have been reflecting on that already for a while, not just on Clubhouse, because I believe Clubhouse is just an example of privilege that we can really experience and live, but also the topic of how can we use that privilege to really serve others who cannot have it. And it's not just about Clubhouse, but it's also about all of the other things that we, let's say, all of us have access to iOS devices. People don't have access to food, so how can we, for example, use this platform to make sure that their voices will be heard, or their faces will be visible? What else can we do individually or collectively while using these very great technologies to help others and to serve others? So that's maybe a broader question I would like to put here to all of you to reflect on that in the future, in the coming days. I would be very much interested in learning, also your ideas about how can we serve others, voiceless people, while using this great privilege we are living. Thank you, I'm done speaking. Here with Lana.
Thank you. For us, very important that today we can hear different voices from different countries and from different contexts. Thank you so much that you are with us. And I want to say thank you to Sarah, Helen, Ivona, and Daniel. And we return you to the audience. Thank you so much. And the next, I want... yes, I want Oksana, and please, where are you from, and say your name, and share your experience, your voice with us, please.
Hello to everyone. My name is Oksana. I live in Argentina, although I am Russian by origin. I wanted to tell about digital divide and the exclusivity that take place in my own family. My husband works in quite a conservative industry. He is military and works in the Argentinian Navy. And although he is not much older than me, he has just 4 years. He has just 4 years more than me. He's quite how to say? He's quite basic using all the digital instruments. What I noted is that digital inclusivity and exclusivity is more about a kind of mindset, not only the access to the technology. Because once I offered him to take my old iPhone, and he told, but what for, if the only thing I do is to write messages on WhatsApp or just check my Facebook. And although I, with my digital device, have access to a lot of educational opportunities. I work there. I work online for already 12 years, many years before the pandemic started. So I have anything on the internet. I have my studies, I have my work, I have my clients, I have connections with a lot of people all over the world, like you. And for him, it's like another level of managing digital space. I just wanted to tell you one example. It was about 4 years ago or something like that, where we were working by our neighborhood, and we saw a veterinary clinic for our cat. And I told him, look, maybe we can call here later and ask if they can help us. He told, yeah, but I don't have a pen and a paper to just take a note of the phone. And this moment I took out my phone, just took a picture of the telephone number, and I said, that's it. You don't need a pen and a piece of paper to take a note of the phone and the address. So that's what I see even in my own family, and I see that a lot of people around me, they just don't use all the range of the opportunities that the digital world can offer them. So not because they don't have a phone. Here in Argentina, we many times have that a person doesn't have a house, but they have the latest iPhone. Well, not iPhone, they are not so popular here, but the latest and the biggest phone. And they don't have a house. Their children don't go to school because the public education is not that good here. And there is a lot of problem with teachers, but they have a phone. The problem is they don't use that phone for making their life better because they just don't know how to do it. So that's my observation that I wanted to share. My name is Oksana, I am from Argentina, and thank you for listening.
Oksana, thank you so much for your experience. It's so interesting how we have different situations in one family. Thank you so much. And thank you all for so deep and so rich conversation. It's very important for us, for Presence in Institute, and for us, for moderator, and today with us. Rachel from Rome, and Michelle from South of Africa, Stefan from USA, and Antoinette, what are you now? I forgot, sorry dear. Okay, and Antoinette from this world. Okay, and before we continue, we have 15 minutes more for our conversation, and feel free, please raise your hand and share with us your stories and your opinions. And I just remind that we are recording this session, and if you please don't speak if you don't want that your voice to be recorded. Thank you so much. We want to share this record with other people who don't have iPhones and iPads, and hope it will be very useful and interesting for these people. Okay, and the next person who in our stage is Hala. Hala, please say your name right. Sorry if I have mistakes. And where are you from, Hala? And please share your story with us.
Thank you, Anastasia. It is Hala, and I'm calling from Beirut, Lebanon. My journey, I actually started with the Presencing Institute by attending the Global Classroom in 2007. So it's been a very long, amazing journey, and in a way I feel that there has been an embodiment of the you. So while I was listening today and also taking Rachel's invitation, I went from the I think to I feel, and I'm in that felt space. I noticed that there is a dance between tension and intention. And this is the dance that I would like to speak to. The question about exclusivity comes from in regards to Clubhouse and in regards to the digital divide. Is the question that comes is, what am I missing, right? And what is the value? And how can I create out of this an opportunity? And I feel that there are, yes, many voices that are not included, but at the same time, they can be included by the innovation that can come by addressing this kind of opportunity that is, opening up. So for me, the World Wide Web has its harvest was in 2020. The actual harvest of what the worldwide of the internet and this World Wide Web happened, and still many do not have access, and at the same time there are a lot who have phones, maybe not the iPhones, but there is now an expansion of utilization of this forum for something else other than just the connection. So one of the things that I feel is that, and that answers, I think, I forgot her name, Ioana's question regarding how can we bring in other people's voices, and I noticed that there are several possibilities, and after all, this is what we all have is these possibilities. And one possibility is that when we are on these kind of platforms, other than just what we are receiving, we know that we are receiving to serve. So we're like ambassadors, right? And we are actually then presenting it to others, whether it is through sharing it, or like you're doing today, recording and then sharing. But sometimes it is purely through presence, right? There is something that is received through that kind of presence. Another kind of application could be for a local community to come together, and someone who has the phone, right, is connected into a conversation, and it's just moved around. So I feel that exclusivity is is it also is a choice, like, you know, what has been shared. Not always, of course, it's not always a choice, but it opens an opportunity for other ways of innovation that can support the presence of those voices or the exchange of those voices, and what are the multiplicities of connectors, and how do we create this networking? So how do we expand the web and now start to think of not only the digital, but the face-to-face and the digital, the dance between face-to-face and digital. And it's just, you know, new thoughts and new concepts come, but we have to enter it in a way that when we're entering into that space, we're not only entering it for simply ourselves. I mean, we have to also feel that we are bringing in the field with us. I'm Hala, and I'm...
Thank you, Hala. I really want to thank you for this contribution. It's resonated with me so much. I love what you say about picking up on the challenge and treating it as opportunity. And I like to think back at something I once came across. It was that no is actually new opportunity, and that an obstacle can actually be a sort of a starting point into finding creative ways to bridge over. And in fact, we're recording today because I chanced upon a very interesting room the other day under the banner of contagious vulnerability. And there I opened up about something that was concerning me because, you know, as representing the Presencing Institute and posting about Clubhouse events, I did get pushback from some people who manifested their actually being quite upset that we are creating a presence here because there are these boundaries. And I sort of felt like that was a space where I could address this, and I'm glad I did, because it's from there that I got inputs from other people who said, you know, there is actually a way you could be creating a bridge beyond. And I also like, Hala, how you think about, you know, how can this become an opportunity for someone who might have a device to create an in-person gathering and taking it offline and making it available for others. So I think that's so interesting, and that's the way we should be thinking about it. And so what's our social responsibility, insofar as sometimes, you know, the really excluded voices don't even know what they're being excluded from. And so how do we find ways to weave across the divides? This is Rachel from Rome. I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And just remind that we have a few minutes more, and now I'm added to Misan. Sorry if I have mistaken your name. And please say your name and where you're from, and please share with us your experience.
Hi, you said it quite perfectly. It's to Misan. I'm from South Africa. So I echo a lot what Michelle has said, that because of race and class, there's so much exclusion, even no matter how much we want other people to have access to this. Without infrastructure and everything and corruption, that is not going to happen. So what Alice said, that we are the ambassadors. So I'm so grateful for platforms like this, so that I can take back what I've learned, what I've heard, and be the change that I want to see. You know, I have an iPhone, I must admit, and I watch and everything because I'm a sports fanatic, but other people, a lot of people who are very close to me do not have access to such. So I think it's up to me to recognize my privilege, and with that privilege to actually take it and push it forward, you know, be the change you want to see. You know, they say with great power comes responsibility. Like, don't take the blind eye, do what's right and share the knowledge that you have, because ultimately, I feel like this is such a great platform, and we are coming from all over the world, and we're all saying we want to fit in the gap, we want to do the social divide. So I'm so grateful for platforms like this. Yeah, that's Tumisang, and thank you. That's all from me.
It's so important to hear so different opinions from different parts of the earth, and thank you so much that you are being with us today with our session. And now we have 5 minutes, and Florentina, hi, I'm very glad to hear you and to see you, to see your picture. And please, you have 2-3 minutes. Please share with us and say your name, where are you from. Share with us your story, please.
Thank you, Anastasia. Sorry, it's a bit last minute, I know. So I'm Florentina. I'm based in Brussels and originally from Kosovo. And I just had a little bit of a thought while I was hearing to everyone's stories, and I thought, like, isn't it also very, very kind of like ingrained in us that we are thinking that digitalism and technologies are a gift, so to speak. And what if instead of like seeing things as like we need to involve the rest of the world into the digital world, so to speak, what if it's the contrary that needs to happen? And what does it look like if we turn off, so to speak, from technologies a little bit and actually listen to the knowledge and the wisdom that have been there before even technologies? And so I'm just wondering somehow if like it's even a real paradigm shift in itself as a conversation, or if we are already so thinking that we're so privileged that we are thinking that this is a privilege, of course, you know, but what if it's not actually? We don't even question anymore that maybe it's not a privilege, maybe are we privileged, you know, maybe it's a curse a little bit as well. So I don't know, that was just a thought that I was having. So thank you, I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Florentina, and it's so deep conversation today that I don't know, maybe we should do one more session about this, because it's really very interesting what is your experience around this question. And now we have a few minutes more, and Antoinette, please, could you join us now and say a little tune?
Yeah, thanks, Anastasia. Thanks, everyone, for this important, what feels like a beginning of a conversation. So what I'd like to do is just invite us, in some of our programs we do a resonance practice, so just to settle into your own body for a moment. And I think, you know, in this kind of conversation, we can float up into the mind. And so we can start there, but if you'd like to close your eyes or lower your gaze again and just feel into where you are right now. And just notice what's percolating for you. What is kind of coming up for you? What ideas have been sparked in this conversation? Just noticing that for a minute. Then perhaps following the breath on the next inhale or exhale. Tuning into the space around the heart. Just noticing for a moment, maybe without words, what sensations are coming up for you. What feeling, based on the conversation we just had. And following the breath one more time, just sensing into feeling the earth in whatever way, however that may be for you. Perhaps your feet are touching the ground, or your seat is touching the floor, and somewhere you are connected to the earth. Just feeling grounded. And if your feet were to move somewhere, if you were to take some action, and start walking in a particular direction after this conversation, where might they take you next? So just feeling into those 3 places of resonance, and I'll pass it back to you, Anastasia.
Oh, thank you, Antoinette. Every time when I hear your voice, I'm just go inside in my deep, I don't know, deep soil. I don't know where I'm going every time. Thank you. And thank you everybody who be with us today and raise your hand, but we're so sorry we don't have more time. And thank you for our co-host, for Michelle, Rachel, Antoinette. And now I pass the microphone to Stefan, and I'm Anastasia from Russia, from Moscow. I was very glad to be with you and be a moderator. And thanks so much for these different voices from different parts of the earth. And I feel connection with all of us. Thank you, and see you after 1 week. And Stefan, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stefan Day. I'm sitting here in New York, in Manhattan, the land of Lene Lenape. And just a few little announcement bullet points at the end of the session as we're leaving. If you'd like to stay connected with Presencing Institute and our programs, you can jump over to presencing.org. That's presencing.org to join our mailing list and check out our other offerings and programs. And we're going to be here on Clubhouse every Tuesday for a while, having future conversations that are about sensing into the current moment and talking about the field of presencing and theory U. We also wanted to put out a save the date for our global forum, which is going to be on June 15th and 16th. And more information coming about that. You can find out more about that at our website or via different social channels. And then also leading up to the forum, we have another Gaia Journey session, which will be in late May. We're still landing on what the specific topic will be, but it's likely going to be in this field of the digital and social divides of our current times. And with that, I pass it back to the space. Everyone have a beautiful day.
Have an amazing day or night or morning, and thanks one more time so much for all of our moderators.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're clapping.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Be well, take care, and see you next week. Bye-bye.